What's up, everyone? Welcome to Game Conclave. This is VBerg. We've got our Sunday Game News Roundup from last week, and we got one little important note we want to talk about. So, we always start this off by hopping into all the new games dropping this week, and then we get on to all the news from last week after that, but there's a game that's supposedly going to drop this week. We'd normally cover for sure, but it's shadow dropping, according to the rumors. So we're actually not going to cover it in our new releases, and we're going to cover it in later on in the video, but yeah, it might be dropping. We don't know. But let's get to the video. Let's just do like we do. Let's kick it off, hop into this week's guaranteed releases and DLC that we're excited for. Alright, and first up we've got Clair Obscur Expedition 33. This is a turn-based RPG developed by Sandfall Interactive, a small new French studio, and the combat system is going to blend turn-based combat with some real-time prompts to allow for counters, dodges, and parries. And I've said it before, but the combat of this game super reminds me of The Legend of Dragoon, Lost Odyssey, and Shadow Hearts, and that is great company to be in a turn-based game, and in my opinion, those are great games. So it's set in a fantasy world where the paintress, this mysterious godlike figure, annually paints a number on a monolith, which then causes everyone of that age to vanish into smoke and die. This year, the number she's painting is 33, and as humanity does every year, they form an expedition to try and stop this cycle of death. The 33rd expedition is led by Gustav, with Maël and Lune accompanying him as they embark on a journey to defeat the paintress and discover what has happened to all the previous expeditions they sent to stop her. It's going to be dropping on the Xbox Series X and S, PS5, and PC on April 24th.
Get ready!
Fatal Fury City of the Wolves is a 2.5D fighter coming to us from SNK, best known for their awesome King of Fighters series. I think it's awesome. The City of the Wolves is the sequel to Garou, Mark of the Wolves, and this is going to mark the first time we've gone back to Southtown in one of their games for 20 plus years. Rock Howard and his mentor Terry Bogard are going to be confronting Kane R. Heinlein, who is scheming up something tied to Rock's father, Geese Howard's legacy. There's also going to be a kind of RPG-like light mode thing akin to what we saw back in Street Fighter 6. It's going to be called the Episodes of Southtown. Looking forward to that. Really thought that was a fun new feature in Street Fighter. Looking forward to see what SNK does with it. The game is going to feature 17 fighters at launch, including Rock Howard, Terry Bogard, B. Janet, Mai Shiranui, and a ton more of the Fatal Fury and King of Fighters favorites or their apprentices. And later on, we've got DLC coming that's going to add in Chun-Li and Ken Masters from Street Fighter. It's going to be dropping on the Xbox Series X and S, PS4, PS5, and PC on April 24th.
Want a little taste of Shiranui Fire?
Post Trauma is a new horror IP coming to us from Red Soul Games, a studio out of Spain, and this is going to be their debut title. We'll be playing as Roman, a tormented train conductor who awakens after a panic attack into a nightmarish abomination. Fixed camera angles, puzzles, combat with limited ammo, multiple ways to tackle level progression, and various other survival horror PS2 era classics will be present, as the creators have stated their goal is to make a modern-looking PS2 horror game, a PS2 horror title with modern visuals, and I'm sure that's going to get a lot of people pretty excited. So this one is launching on March 31st for the Xbox Series X and S, PS5, and PC.
You think you can escape what you've done?
Days Gone Remastered is an action-adventure survival game developed by Bend Studio. It takes place in a post-apocalyptic Pacific Northwest setting, 2 years after a global pandemic has killed off most humans and transformed many of the survivors into zombies. In it, we play as Deacon St. John, a biker and merc searching for his missing wife, Sarah. Deacon will have to earn the trust of various settler camps by doing odd jobs and missions for them to acquire reputation and cash, which he then will use to buy guns and parts for his motorcycle. The forests, mountains, and abandoned towns are filled to the brim with mutated wildlife and zombies. You can take down your enemies with stealth, guns, or melee in this open-world game. And the remaster is going to add in a ton of new modes, an optional permadeath mode, a speedrun mode, and the Horde Assault mode, where you try to survive against endless waves of zombies. And the remaster is also going to have graphical enhancements. It's coming to the PS5 and PC as part of the Broken Roads DLC pack on April 25th.
Bring it!
Steel Seed is a stealth action game set in a dark sci-fi world where we play as Zoe after a catastrophe has rendered Earth uninhabitable. The planet is now controlled by machines, but Zoe, along with her drone Kobe, must investigate the machine's underground facility, seeking the answers to humanity's survival, as we are now on the brink of extinction. We do that a lot, don't we? This game is going to combine stealth, action combat, traversal, and platforming abilities, and it looks kind of interesting. It's almost like a near-ish type setting, in that kind of post-apocalyptic machines have taken over, but then like some Assassin's Creed Tenchu stealth assassination elements. I don't know. I'll be interested to see this one. Check it out sometime. It's coming to the Xbox Series X and S, PS5, and PC on April 22nd.
This is gigantic. There's no way this could be man-made.
Amerzone the Explorer's Legacy is a remake of Amerzone from 1999. This is the first game that takes place in the same world as the Siberia series, which is also created by Benoit Sokol. This is a very Myst-like game. You play as a journalist. You'll be solving puzzles and investigating as you've been sent out to bring back the last egg of the mythical great white birds, a form of wildlife that is only found in a Latin American dictatorship. This is a first-person narrative adventure puzzle game, and it's going to be dropping on the Xbox Series X, NS, PS5, and PC on April 24th.
Take the egg of the white birds back to Amerzone.
The 100-Line Last Defense Academy is a strategy RPG developed by Tokyo Games and Media Vision. Tokyo Games is best known for the Danganronpa series, and Media Vision is best known for Wild Arms and Valkyria Chronicles. In the 100-Line, you play as Takumi Sumino, an ordinary teen whose life is altered when monsters attack. An entity named Sirei then grants him mystical abilities and forces him into the Last Defense Academy school, which is encircled by mystical flames. He, along with the other students, will be required to defend the school for 100 days in order to save humanity. Combat plays out in a turn-based system where you use the students' unique abilities, and the story will play out in a visual novel-style system with dialogue choices and multiple endings. This one is coming to the Switch and PC on April 24th.
The fate of this school all depends on you.
Alright, now on to the new games and DLC that were announced last week. So, Star Overdrive, the action exploration title with some hack and slash elements, which just launched on April 10th for the Switch, has now been announced for the Xbox Series X, NS, PS5, and PC. In this one, you play as Bios, who receives a cryptic distress signal from his gal, Noas, and then he heads out to a mysterious planet with his customizable hoverboard to explore the secrets of 3 distinct biomes and find his gal. It's now going to be hitting all the other platforms sometime in June. All right, and another game that was announced this week was one we've heard rumors about for a minute. I don't think we ever actually covered it in our rumor mill section. But yeah, there's been a rumor about this one for a while. So Star Wars Zero Company. This is going to be a single-player, turn-based tactical combat game developed by Respawn and BitReactor in the Star Wars universe. So Respawn Entertainment is the people behind Titanfall and the former creators of the Call of Duty series, and now they're going to be doing an XCOM style Star Wars game. Which is like, okay, yeah, cool, let's freaking do it. Now they also do the Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order games, so maybe it's not totally insane that they're now making an XCOM game. But yeah, I just didn't see coming from Respawn and XCOM meets Star Wars. I didn't know that was in the cards. But hell yeah, I'm pretty excited that this is going to exist, So yeah, this one's launching sometime next year for the Xbox Series X and S, PS5, and PC. We haven't had any word, though, on whether or not it's going to have a Switch 2 release at this time. All right, and we're going to be skipping the rumor mill and the sales updates because we just didn't see any that really attracted much attention from us. So let's hop into the general news. So first off, we're going to talk about the publisher Gung Ho. Now, Gung Ho was in charge of the Lunar Remastered Collection. And boy, did they screw up. So they refused to take pre-orders because they claimed there was going to be such an abundance of copies of the Lunar Remastered Collection, pre-orders wouldn't be necessary. So what happened? Well, sales went live, and they were all snatched up by bots associated with scalpers on third-party sites like eBay. So, now on eBay and all these other various resale sites, the copies of Lunar Remastered are $150 rather than the approachable price of like $49.99 that I think that they were supposed to be. So yeah, a lot of people are pretty darn angry at Gung Ho. Now, the only good part here is they've had the decency to admit they screwed up and that they are going to reprint copies as soon as possible. So as of the time of this recording, there were still some Xbox copies floating around on a few marketplaces, even a couple Switch titles. It was very limited quantity on the Switches, but all the PlayStation 4 copies had all been snatched up and thrown on, eBay and all these other sites already. So it was a really massive fail here. Just completely dumb to think that a title that was already extremely rare, copies going for $200 and up for the original PlayStation 1 releases weren't going to be snatched up. There's people who have a lot of cash injected into the Lunar PS1 copies that they've been trying to get for a long time. And so these PlayStation, Switch, and Xbox copies are going to devalue theirs. So of course they put time and energy into gobbling up as much of those as they could to try to dominate and dictate the price on the secondhand market. And it was just really dumb of Gung Ho to not see this coming. So yeah. But like I said, thankfully they at least addressed that they screwed up, and they are working hard to get some reprints out there. That's good. These kind of situations just keep happening. They happen every console release. They happen with rare games like this. Someday someone's got to figure out a way to, make sure this doesn't happen. And pre-orders probably would have helped out a lot here, because they would have helped them make sure they did have the appropriate amount of supply that the consumers were demanding. All right, now the only other really big story we're going to be covering from this one, it's going to be probably a little bit shorter of a news video, but there's only other really big one we're covering today goes back to what I was talking about at the beginning. And this would probably normally belong in the rumor mill section, but this one's been sort of kind of quasi-confirmed and sort of not, and that is that Oblivion Remaster that just everyone keeps talking about, including us. So if you're not aware, the remake/remaster, I think it's more of a remake, but the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remake is supposed to be dropping sometime this week. It's going to be a shadow drop. It's not going to get a whole lot of marketing. It's just going to happen. But yeah, there's been rumors of this game dropping for months now, and now we've had several photos leak from Virtuous Studios. They had a leak. They're one of the support studios working on this, or the primary studio. They do a lot of remakes and remaster type stuff. So yeah, they had a little leak, and a couple images of the game, which you're seeing right here, made it out into the wild. So we know that this is a ground-up remake of the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion in the Unreal Engine 5. It's expected to contain all of the DLC from the original. A lot of people have been online and been wondering about whether or not the voice acting has been updated, because Oblivion is kind of iconic for its good and bad voice acting. There was something like only a dozen voice actors on Oblivion, and they had to voice several hundred characters. So there's a lot of repeated dialogue and a lot of very similar sounding characters, but it kind of made for the charm of that game. So a lot of people are hoping that it doesn't get updated, because there was, some weird wonky takes and a lot of hilarious stuff. And yeah, we're all going to find out whether or not this remake is really shadow dropping this week, or there was another rumor that said it was just going to get announced this week and then come later in the summer. So we're all going to find out. Like I said multiple times, I'm really excited to see the reception to this. A lot of Skyrim and Bethesda fans have never really journeyed back into some of their older titles, and it'll be really interesting to see what people think of Oblivion. And then that kind of segues into our final story, which is also related to a Bethesda remaster/remake, and that in these leaks there was more evidence to suggest a Fallout 3 remake or remaster is also coming down the line. Now, we've heard rumors about this one too for a while. It crops up every now and again. There was a small mention of it from Bethesda back in 2023, but we know from these leaks apparently progress is still going. We can expect this sometime after the Oblivion Remaster Remake, whichever it is, drops, though. It is expected to be sometime out more distant, whatever the hell that means. I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, it would be really awesome to see Fallout 3 and the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion being made available again for modern consoles. These are some of the best RPGs of the 7th generation, so I'm excited to have a chance to replay these with some modern, updated visuals and quality of life features, potentially. If you found any of these stories funny, interesting, be sure to let us know down in the comments. If you're picking up any of the games that are dropping this week, let us know which one. If you enjoyed the video, give us a like and subscribe. And as always, from all of us here at Game Conclave, thank you so much for watching.